Yeah. So we completed bookmark. Okay. Power BI service is also done. Yeah. So today we will start with DAX. So what is DAX? DAX is the data analysis expression. It is also called as the formula language of Power BI. Okay. So from here onwards, we will start writing the formulas. Understand this, guys. When you talk about DAX, you are talking about the report creation step. Okay. So the Power Query comes into the picture in the pre-processing stage of your data. That means when I get the data, I see some issues, I see that I will need certain columns, then in that case I can add those columns. For such cases I can use the Power Query. But while preparing the report, you might come across certain scenarios where you have to write formula, you have to calculate certain things. Okay. So in such cases, DAX will come into the picture. Some functions you can do from Power Query, some functions you can do from DAX. But the only advantage that I get from DAX is programmatical language. So that means I can program it, I can change my output, I can do those things. Power Query, on the other hand, is restricted. It is created for users who just want to click on the operation and perform that operation. Okay, so that's the difference that you will have when you use the Power Query and DAX. Now coming here, now whenever I talk about DAX, DAX consists of mostly functions. What are functions? Functions are reusable code to which you pass different types of inputs and it gives you the output, different types of outputs. So DAX functions, each DAX function will give you different types of output. But mainly when we talk about DAX functions gives us output in three formats. The first format is scalar or single value. Okay. For example, if I give you a column and if I tell you to calculate the minimum value present in that column. Now, in that case, the output is always going to be a single value, single, or we also call it a scalar value. So that is the single value or scalar value function. The next function is series of the next function can give you series of values. Okay. So what is series of values? Let's say you have column A which has some numbers, you have column B which has some numbers. Now what I do is I tell you to calculate column A plus column B. Now when you do column A plus column B, again the output will always going to be column C, a new series of values. It is not going to give you a single value, but in that case it is going to return you multiple values, multiple series of values. So that is your second. And the third output that a DAX function can give is multiple rows and multiple columns. Okay. So in certain cases, let's say if I tell you to group the data, we have seen group by clause in the Power Query. So when you group the data, it groups the data and gives us the information. So when you group the data, in that case, single value is not returned. Single series of value is also not returned. In that case, the output is stable. So that means multiple rows and multiple columns. So in such cases, sometimes your DAX function also returns you multiple rows and multiple columns. Okay. So always remember your DAX function will give you one of the three outputs. Why this is important? Because when you go to create different DAX functions, you'll have to select different options. Now, first thing, whenever you're going to create, whenever you are going to use a DAX function which is going to return you single or scalar value, then in that case you will use new measure. Okay. Whenever you are going to get series of values, you are going to use the new column, and wherever you are going to get multiple rows and multiple columns as your output, then you are going to use new table. Clear with this? Any questions here? So always remember DAX functions will mainly give you these three types of outputs. You have to mainly work on these three types of output. If you are using aggregate functions like minimum, maximum, count, sum, average, count, distinct, they are usually going to give you a new measure, single value. When I add two columns, when I multiply two columns, when I extract something from a column, I'm obviously going to get series of values. So in that case, I'm going to use new column. And the third option is multiple rows and multiple columns. So when I apply filter, when I group data, when I summarize something, when I calculate top 10, bottom 10, then in that case, usually it is not returning single value, it is not returning series of values, but rather multiple rows and multiple columns. So in that case, I will use the new table option. Okay, clear with this? Any questions? Okay, I'll move ahead. So I will load one file. Okay, I have loaded the data from this minimum table. Now we will start with some basic formulas, basic functions, and then we will increase the complexity. Okay. So I have loaded this minimum table from the DAX underscore function sheet. Now in this DAX underscore function sheet, I have column 1, which is of numeric nature, and I have column 2, which is of true false nature. In column 1, I have some blank values also. Okay. Now let me start with this. So in this minimum table, I have total 24 rows. So let's say if I want to calculate how many rows are present in the table minimum. Okay. So in that case, will I get single value, series of value, or multiple rows and multiple columns? Anyone? If you calculate the total number of rows, how many values you will get? One value or multiple values?
Total number of rows.
Yeah.
Single value.
Yes, single value is what you're going to get. So in that case, we will create the measure. Measure is like a variable which you create, which is usually used to store single or scalar values. Okay. If I'm going to create new column, I can click on new column. If I know my function returns multiple rows, multiple columns, I will use new table. For now, I am creating the measure for this table. That's why I have selected this table and I click on new measure. When you click on new measure, a calculator type icon will appear in this table and it will be shown in the form of measure. So measure is the default name of the variable, okay, which you create in the DAX. But if you want, you can change it. Okay, so this is the variable name measure. So anything I can give it here. You can use special characters, space, underscore, ampersand, because this is the user friendly text which is given. This is like a variable that you are creating. Okay. So I want to count the rows in minimum. So I will write count rows in minimum table. Okay. And after equal to, you have to write the formula. So this is exactly similar to what you do in your Excel. You write the formula on the right hand side after equal to. So here I want to count the total number of rows in the table. So the function is count rows. So the moment I type count rows, the IntelliSense will automatically give me the suggestion. So this is the fx. Fx means function. So when you click on count rows, automatically the bracket is added. Now count rows description is given on the top. Count rows table is the input parameter to this function, and it counts the number of rows in the table. Now in here, I want to count the total number of rows of the table minimum. So all I have to do is type the table name. So the moment I type MIN, you can see suggestion is giving me the table. This is the icon for table. This is the table name. So just select the table, close the bracket and press enter. That's it, done. So this measure that you have created, it is not actually stored in the data tab. It is like a variable which is created and which is calculated on the fly. Okay, so if the data is added, obviously it will change the number automatically. Okay, now just to show this information, I will use card visual and I will select this checkbox. So when you select this checkbox, it will show you the total number of rows. So total number of rows were how many? 24. So this should show us 24 now as the number. Okay. So this is my count rows. Okay. Clear with this? Any question? Similar to this, let's say if I want to count the total number of values in a specific column. So for that, I have the function count. Okay, count rows by default will always work for table, guys. Okay, and like I said, count function will work for the columns. Okay, so now we will see the column specific function. So the first function that we will see is the count. So I want to count the column 1. So this is what I will give my variable name. So count column 1 equal to, and here the function is count. So IntelliSense is strong enough to tell you what are the list of functions and options that are available to you. So I will select count here. The moment you select count, count function accepts column name. So it will give you a list of all the columns that are present in your sheet. So you can see the table, the columns from minimum sheet, minimum table, columns from table 1, and columns from financials also. The list is huge. It is showing you all the columns from the different tables. Okay, so let's say from this list I want to calculate the total number of values in column 1. So for that, all you have to do is start typing. So let me type COLUM. Guys, here the trick is to type the column name, not the table name. If you type the table name, you will have to write single quotes, you'll have to maintain every structure and so on. So here I want to count the column 1, so I will just type column 1. Here it appears in the suggestion. I will select column 1 and I will close the bracket. Done. And my measure is created. So again, this measure is a single value. So this will give me the total count. So you can show this measure in bar diagram, pie charts, anywhere. Okay, since it's a value and it is a single value, that is why I'm using card. Okay, you can use something else also. You can see the total number of rows in this table is 24, but the total number of values in column 1 is 15. So what count function does is it doesn't count your blank values. So you can see 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. There are total 9 blank values within this table. That is why it is not showing us the blank values. Okay, clear with this? Any questions? Okay. The next thing that I will do is I will move to the financial sample, the data which we use a lot. So let's say if this is my financial table and I want to count the total sales, the sum of sales column, sum of financial sales column is what I want to count, and I want to store it in a new measure. So for that, I have a formula called as sum. Now sum will also give me a single value. So I will select this financials table. I will click on new measure. And in here, I will write the formula. So the formula name is sum of sales equal to, and the function is sum. Now sum also expects column names. So here I will write SALES, sales. You can see the moment I typed sales, it is automatically give me the suggestions. I have two columns. One is sales, the other is gross sales, which I want to select. So I will just click on it. Okay. As I said, guys, don't try to type the complete formula, the complete column name. Always try to type the column name. It will give you the suggestion. Try to select it from the suggestion itself. It would be a lot easier. Otherwise, you will end up missing on brackets, missing on a square bracket, missing on comma, those type of things. Okay, so always follow that practice. Okay, so this is my financial sales. Now I know I have used this in visualization. So sum of sales would be somewhere around 118 million. Okay, so let me use a card, and in that card I will put this number.
Praful,
Yes, Swapnil.
financials is a table, right?
Yes.
So why single code में क्यों नहीं था वो?
सिंगल कोट में कब आता है वो स्वप्निल, जब सिर्फ टेबल नेम यूज करते हो. इफ यू सी द फर्स्ट फॉर्मूला, दिस वाज द फर्स्ट फॉर्मूला राइट. काउंट रोज, काउंट रोज में देखो फॉर्मूला क्या था. इफ आई वांट टू सी एनी फॉर्मूला बाय द वे आई कैन क्लिक ऑन दिस हियर. ठीक है, आई क्लिक हियर, सी द फॉर्मूला हियर स्वप्निल. अभी दिख रहा है, अभी ये सिंगल कोट में है, बराबर. वो क्यों है
Yes,
पता
sir.
है, क्योंकि इट्स अ टेबल. ठीक है, बट
Okay, okay.
अभी यहाँ पे आपने काउंट कॉलम 1 किया था, करेक्ट.
Yes.
काउंट कॉलम 1 का फॉर्मूला देखो, टेबल सिंगल कोट्स में है बट कॉलम है क्या.
नहीं. So for same for financial for some financials single quote में नहीं था, right? Sum of
अच्छा वैसे, ओके.
yes.
अच्छा वैसे नहीं, ऐसे ऐसा कोई डिफरेंस एज सच नहीं है, दोनों तो टेबल ही है.
So वही है, दोनों टेबल है बट काउंट में सिंगल कोट में है बट सम में वो सिंगल कोट में है. कुछ स्पेसिफिक रीजन है या
नहीं एज सच कोई रीजन तो नहीं है. मैं सिर्फ वही देख रहा हूँ कि कहीं इसमें स्पेस तो नहीं है, स्पेस की वजह से भी कभी कभी वो सिंगल कोट ऐड करता है क्या स्पेस. यहाँ है वन मोर थियरी, एक मिनट. लेट मी जस्ट चेक इट. हाँ हाँ हाँ, recent sources, financial sample. शीट 1, शीट 1 नहीं, शीट 2. So what happens is in Excel now you have a funda. अभी शायद I think that funda is kicking in. So if I want to select 2 to 3 columns and I want to make them as table, so I have to select those columns and I have to press Control T. Control T is the shortcut to create tables. ठीक है, then that entity is detected as table. But on the other hand, if you load the sheet, then I think in that case it behaves a bit different. ठीक है, let me check here. So I have loaded here sum of sales. So मेरे को इस पे चेक करने दो. नहीं इसमें नहीं आ रहा है, इसमें भी नहीं आ रहा है शीट 2 में. शीट 2 सेल प्राइस. लेट्स चेक द शीट आल्सो. वैसे ऐसा सच कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है, डेटा इज डेटा, बट आई डोंट नो व्हाई दैट सिंगल कोट इज बीइंग एडेड. फॉर्मेट क्या है, दिस इज अ वर्कशीट. आई डोंट नो स्वप्निल, मे बी आई विल चेक इट, बट आई थिंक टेबल स्ट्रक्चर का ही है और कुछ नहीं है.
ओके ओके.
आई थिंक मैंने जो कंट्रोल टी किया ना, बिकॉज दिस डजंट हैव द हेडर्स, So since that column 1 header was added, I think that is why, because if you see the original data doesn't have any headers. But if you see here, we have column 1 and column 2. So if I
Yes.
connect here tax functions, यहाँ पे this is the minimum sheet that we have loaded. तो इसमें column
Filter
1,
is not present. Okay.
हाँ, तो यहाँ पे there is no single quotes and as such, but still वो डिटेक्ट कर रहा है उसको. आई थिंक कुछ कंपैटिबिलिटी या कुछ तो टेबल का स्ट्रक्चर ही होगा, आई थिंक उसकी वजह से डिटेक्ट कर रहा है, अदरवाइज डायरेक्ट ही आता है, सच कुछ नहीं है. और
Yes.
ये जो टेबल का नेम है, आई थिंक ये नॉर्मल ही वर्क करता है. मैं तो यूजुअली टाइप नहीं करता हूँ, आई जस्ट सिलेक्ट इट, सो मे बी दैट्स व्हाई आई मिस्ड दिस पॉइंट, बट आई विल चेक इट. ठीक है, आई विल गेट
Yes.
बैक टू ऑन दिस. ठीक है, बट ऑब्जेक्टिव इज द सेम, select the columns and try to perform that operation. Okay.
Yes.
So that is the sum of sales. Now exactly similar to your sum of sales, okay, I can also create average of sales. So if you want to create average of sales, you can write the formula average. Okay. So the formula is, I'll just write the variable name, average sales equal to AV average. So just select the average formula and here provide the average case. So here I'll just select financial sales, bracket close. Done. So formula is created. Now if I want to see the value, I will go to card and I will select it. So this is my average. Similar to this, I can also calculate minimum and maximum. So let me calculate minimum and maximum. So again, table, new measure. So here the formula is minimum sales. So minimum sales equal to MIN. This is my M minimum. Then SALES sales. Financial sales is what I will select. Bracket close. Done. Okay. So this is my minimum sales. Okay. And exactly similar to this, I will do one more. Max. So max sales. This is my maximum sales. So these are some of the known formulas that you have used in your Excel also. So this is your maximum sales. Any questions? Swapnil, Atul, Pooja?
No, sir.
Okay. Clear till this part? Swapnil, I got the answer of that question. Okay. This question, why it is appearing. Okay.
Okay.
The answer is this is a reserved keyword. I just
Okay.
when I typed minimum, then I realized.
Okay.
So what happened is we used a reserved keyword. Minimum is a reserved keyword. So whenever you create any sheet by the reserved keyword name, then in order to separate function with the sheet name, you use single quote. That is the way. Okay. That's why single
Okay.
quote is appearing for minimum, but
Okay.
not for this. The moment I change this name to something else, that single quote will be gone. Okay.
Got it.
That is the reason.
So
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah. You were saying something, Swapnil. You had a question.
नहीं, जैसे सिक्वल में हम लोग ब्रैकेट में फंक्शन मतलब
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Like that only. Just to separate out, I would say the function with the reserved keyword, sheet with the reserved keyword
Yes.
for that case. Yeah. So that is the case. And yeah, any questions? Anyone? No, right? Okay. Now these formulas that you have calculated, you can actually calculate directly on the visualization also. For example, if I take this card visual, if I go to this financials, if I select sales, from here only I can change. This is my sum of sales. From here I can get directly the average. From here, if I want to calculate minimum, I can calculate minimum. And from the same, I can calculate maximum like that. Okay. So like that, you can directly calculate it. And then what is the need? So these formulas are actually used as input to some other complex DAX formulas. That is why I showed you the basic formulas. Now we will increase the complexity. Okay. So the next function that we want to do is, let's say you calculated sum of sales. I'm okay that we are calculating sum of sales, but let's say I'm interested in calculating sum of sales for Germany region. Okay, so in that case, I cannot calculate it like that. One option that I have is I select this card visual, I add a filter here, and then I calculate it. But if I have to do it for 10 different formulas, I cannot add 10 different filters for 10 different formulas. Someone might edit it. So in such cases, what we will have to do is we will have to write the DAX filters. Okay, so filter is the next function that we will see. So what is this filter keyword? Filter keyword filters the data and it gives us the output. Now, whenever you apply the filter, does it give you single value? No. Does it give you series of values? No. It will always give you multiple rows and multiple columns. For example, I just said I want to get the sum of sales for country Germany. So in that case, just click here. And from here, check the box. So when you check this box and when you click on OK, do you get single value, series of value, or multiple rows, multiple columns? You get multiple rows, multiple columns. I get multiple rows and multiple columns. So in this case, the output will be as per this thing that I explained you. We will have to create a new table. Okay, so country equal to Germany is the filter that I want to apply. So first thing is clearing the filter. Now I will click on this financial table, and since filter function will give me a table, I cannot use new measure and new column. I will have to use the new table keyword. Now filter keyword will accept two parameters. Okay, the first parameter is the input table on which I want to apply the filter, and second parameter is the condition that I want to apply. So my input table is financials and my condition is on country column where I want to apply the condition as Germany. Now country column data type is text. Okay, so this is my table, so I will name it as Germany since it is storing Germany data, equal to, and then the function. So the function name is filter. As you can see, you can read the description of this filter function. Returns a table that has been filtered. Okay, so the first thing that I have to do is I have to type the table name. So table name is financials. So I select financials. Okay, so this is my financials table. This is my first parameter. Now I have to specify the second parameter. Second parameter is the condition. So since I want country Germany data, so Germany is actually stored in the country column. So I will type the country column here. So COUNTRY. This is my country column. This is displayed. So I select the country column from the list. And then from the country column, I want only Germany country data. So for that, I will write equal to, and since country column is of type text, so I will write Germany. So here uppercase, lowercase doesn't matter, but the spelling has to be right. Once this is done, close the bracket, enter.
Germany always in double quote, no? Right?
Any textual column, Swapnil, will be in double quotes. Simple logic. So segment, country, product, discount band, then I think, do we have it here? Month name here in double quotes.
Okay.
Why? Because their data type is text, but any other variable in single quotes. Okay. See here, country, filter. When I click on this filter, I have only Germany. Now, as I told you, this is a table which is created from the calculation. So you can see the difference here. See calculator icon here. So this is what you call it as calculated table. Okay, because these tables, they are loaded from source without any calculation. This is created pure out of calculation. Now, exactly similar to this, like you said, let's calculate another table, but on a numeric column. So I want to get the 2013 data in a new table. So 2013 is stored in this year column. Okay, so I have to apply the filter on this numeric column. Okay, year. So let me create new table. So the expression remains the same, filter financials, only the column condition changes. Okay, so here the condition is 2013, right? So 2013 equal to, keyword is filter, input is financials, comma, and the column on which I want to apply the condition is here. So you see this financial year, this is my column, equal to 2013. Okay, now Swapnil, you can see here I haven't applied the double quotes. Why? Because this is a numeric column. So only for text column you have to apply the double quotes. Clear with this? You can check the output here. Clear? Anyone has any questions? Anyone? Pooja, Atul, Priyanka?
No, sir.
Okay. Now let's say if I want to calculate sum of sales for Germany. Now I have Germany table, so I can easily calculate it. So I'll just click on here, Germany, new measure. I will just take sales column from the Germany and I will calculate it. So Germany sum of sales. So you can write anything before equal to, that is up to you. Sum is the operation and then sales. If you type sales, you will see all the sales columns. So from here, select the Germany sales, close the bracket. Okay. And now if I put this here, this is my Germany sales. Clear with this? Any questions? Okay. Moving on. Now this approach is good. This approach is good in terms of filtering data and creating the table and then calculating the value. But this is a two-step process. In this, what you are trying to do is you are trying to create first a table, and then based on that table column, you are trying to apply the filter. But in this approach, what is happening is you are duplicating the data. For example, the same data which is stored in country equal to Germany table is already present in financials. The same data that you have stored in 2013, it is already present in financials table. So for efficiency purpose, what you could have done is you would have directly applied filter on the financials, and then from there only you would have calculated the value. So that would have saved table space, which would have reduced the report size, okay, which would have led to performance improvement. Okay, so for that case, I can use the next set of functions. So similar to what we have seen just now, we have seen sum, then minimum, maximum, average, then count, like that, right? So these functions, they work on the entire column data. So if I want to work on the filter data, I have X functions. So sum X, minimum X, max X, average X, and then count X. These are the functions that are available to me, which I can use it as part of my X functionality. Okay, so the next set of functions that we will see is the X. So let's say if I want to calculate this sum of sales for Germany without using any additional table. Okay, so let me show you that calculation. So I will create new measure, because sum of sales Germany will also be a new measure. So I click financials, new measure, sum of sales in Germany. The measure name has to be unique in the report. Okay, if you use the same measure name again and again, it will give you an error saying measure name is already used in the report. So this is my case. Now the formula that I will use is sum X, not sum, because I want to filter the data. Sum X accept two parameters. First is the table and second is the expression. Usually in case of all X formulas, the first parameter is always the filter, not the original table. Okay, so let's say if I want to calculate sum of sales for Germany, so the filter expression that we learned just now, we will use that here directly. So what I will write here is filter. This is called as function within function. So within filter, I will write the input table. So my input table is financials. And then here I will apply the filter. So the filter is country equal to Germany. So this is your first parameter. So close the bracket, comma. Now your table is provided, you have filtered the table. Now out of this table, on which column you want to apply the expression is what you have to specify. So I want to calculate sum of which column? I want to calculate sum of sales column. So I specify sales here. So from here, select financial sales, close the bracket, done. So now this function has applied filter runtime, and without creating any new table, it has calculated the sum of sales for Germany. Now, if you compare this number with the existing number, you will see the exact value. So this is sum of sales in Germany without creating any new table. Okay, exactly similar to this. What you can do is you can also calculate the average. So for average, I have average X. Okay. So let's say if I want to calculate average of sales for Germany, so I will select this, and the formula that I will use here is average X. Okay. So new measure, average sales in Germany. Okay. So here average X, then again filter financials, comma, country equal to Germany. This is my first condition, comma, and here you have to specify the column. So this is my sales column. So in here I will select financial sales. So instead of showing the sum of sales, now average will be calculated for this. So this average sum, minimum, whatever you specify, it is calculated on this column, and this column you get it from this filter table. So that is how this function is read. Okay, so this is your average X. Then here I click on new measure. So this is my new measure. Now in here I will calculate minimum for Germany. So minimum sale in Germany. Okay, so for that I will use minimum X, filter financials, then country equal to Germany, same filter because we are still calculating for Germany. This is all out of practice, guys. You'll have to practice this. You'll have to write these formulas again and again. Then only you will get a good grip on these DAX functions. And these are asked a lot in the interview. Okay. Yeah. So this is my minimum sales for Germany. Then maximum sales for Germany. So maximum sales for Germany equal to max X, then bracket, then again filter financials, then country equal to Germany. And once this filter is applied, you have to calculate the sales. So this is your maximum sales for Germany. And let's say if you want to count the total number of rows for Germany. So for that I have the function count rows. So count X. So for that I have the solution called as count X. Okay, so again, same thing, same condition. So count rows in Germany. So the function name is count X. Okay. Then in here, financials, sorry, filter, financials, country equal to Germany. Okay. And then you have to calculate. So calculate count of anything, it is going to give you the same value. So count is count. So whether I use sales, whether I use country, yeah, 140. So these are your sum x, average x, minimum x, maximum x, and count x function. So usually the basic function which I showed you on page 1, they work on the entire column. So they are sum, minimum, maximum, count, average. And the second list of functions which I showed you, they work on certain specific filter data. So if I want to calculate certain specific filter data, then in that case I use these x functions. Any questions? Swapnil, Priyanka, Pooja, Atul?
No, sir.
Yeah. So as assignment, what I will do is I will write one formula for Canada, one formula for 2013 in page 3 and page 4. Okay. So let me write one formula. So I will calculate count. So count rows Mexico. Okay, Canada. Let's do for Canada. Canada equal to count X filter financials country equal to Canada. And then sales column. Let's take profit. Yeah. So this is your total number of rows present in Canada. Now I have done the count X for profit. Similar to this, you have to calculate minimum X, maximum X, all these things for profit column. So here only this formula will change. Okay, you have to click here to see the formula. You can see the formula, and based on that formula you can write sum x, maximum x, minimum x, average x, the other formulas. Okay, and as practice, if you want, you can write one more filter condition which is on 2013. I showed you